Hi, my name is Kevin Cruz, and I've been a consultant at Liferay for 5 years. Today we're going to go over the backend Liferay 7 DXP course. Today's module objective is going to be understanding the basics of Liferay platform technical and logical architecture. We're going to start it off with a platform architecture overview, so understanding some of the core technologies of Liferay DXP. So some of the core technologies to Liferay include things like Java, which is what Liferay runs on. It's our runtime environment and programming environment. So you'll be doing most of your programming inside of Java. OSGI, which is the modular application runtime and development framework. Spring, which is the Spring framework. This is what we use for transactions, dependency injections to the core. Hibernate, this is for easy database access. And we also have direct JDBC access for optimized queries. Cache for caching. And Elasticsearch, which is what we use for our index searches and searching in general. Some of the Liferay standards that we like to include things like JSR 168, JSR 286, and JSR 362. These specify that Liferay can run portlets that adhere to these specifications. Also JSR 127, JSR 314, and JSR 344. This is the Java standard for building out component applications. Liferay is an active contributor to these standards, and we actually help generate these specifications. ECMA Script 2015, or ES6. This is Liferay's tooling that we support the 6th edition of the ECMA Script specification and provide the ability to use it in all modern browsers with the integration of the Babel.js transpiler. On the back end, we support JAX-WS and JAX-RS. JAX-WS is for web services that use SOAP. JAX-RS is what web services are that use RESTful services, so both SOAP and REST are usable options here. OSGI R6. Liferay supports the OSGI family of standards through its own implementations, and also integrates implementations of Apache Felix and Eclipse Equinox. Some of these most relevant supported standards are the OSGI runtime, declarative services, and the configuration administration, which lets you create configurable applications that can be reconfigured on the fly. Liferay provides an auto-generated UI to change the configuration of any of these components that leverage these standards. Lastly, we have the GDPR compliancy, which is for the people that are in the EU. This helps to anonymize some of the data that we have inside of Liferay. And you can take a look right here. We have this field being anonymized, which is the full name. Next slide is going to be a physical architecture overview. This is kind of the zoomed out view of what Liferay looks like. So here we have Liferay authentication. We support many authentication technologies like SAML, LDAP, and OAuth. On the front end, we support Bootstrap for styling and have many of the front-end technologies for use, things like JSPs, JSFs, and Vaadin. Got Liferay API, again looking at the web services that support SOAP, JSON, and REST web services. These web services are authorized through Liferay and help to integrate with some of our back-end architecture stuff. These are things like our database, using things like MySQL, Oracle SQL Server, things like that. Also file repositories. This is things like Amazon S3 for storing your important files that help a business kind of run. And also performing searches and indexing those searches. We use Solr and Elasticsearch here. This is the logical architecture overview. This is kind of an overview of what the user is going to see and how their workflow navigates from the user interface all the way down to the database. So our user interacts with Liferay through this user interface. That's anything from sync, which is on mobile, to our portlets, the portlets UI. They'll go ahead and press buttons and click around, which sends messages to the controller layer. This controller layer is all the portlets, MVC commands, and struts commands that actually send our logic to the backend. That's where our platform services come into play. Platform services are kind of the back end of Liferay, where we can send persistence to the database, we can do some caching, or maybe authenticate and authorize our users on the back end. Here under the controller layer, we have web services. These are external services that our user can interact with through Liferay itself. So again, speaking of those SOAP, REST, and JSON services, this box right here will represent those. The backend over here is our persistent layer. That's going to be everything from our database, which holds Liferay, to our file storage, which might hold our important files, to the cloud, which will host all of that in an external server like Google or Amazon. Here's our search index and integration. Search index is again going to be covered by Elasticsearch or Solr, and our integrations are going to be anything that's third-party to Liferay. In summary, kind of the key takeaways here. Liferay is built on many core technologies that are pretty rampant in the industry, include things like Java, Spring, and Elasticsearch. Liferay adheres to some industry-proven standards which we help to drive, such as the Portlet standards and JSF. And Liferay supports the OSGI family of standards as well. Thanks for joining me on today's video. We'll catch you guys next time.